The standard at Michigan is clear. Big Ten titles are expected, and the leadership torch is passed on. Despite a strong start a year ago, the Wolverines didn't finish the way they expected. 2014 brings a new challenge and renewed belief that the Wolverines will again be a force in the Big Ten. We get a glimpse at Team 135 next on the Big Ten Network. Chilly but sunny in Ann Arbor, and anyone who's been around the state of Michigan all winter long will agree that you'll take that combination. Brady Hoke's club will take it on a picture-perfect Saturday as well, as they look forward to seeing their progress in the spring football matchup. Hi, everyone. Alongside my partner, former Michigan national champ Marcus Ray, I'm Matt Shepard. 7-6 for the Wolverines. Not good enough a year ago, partner. There's no question about that. But 4 of their losses by 4 points or fewer and by a total of 11 points. So maybe, just maybe, they're not that far away.
Yeah, Michigan really believes that they need to finish and win close games and find a way to win on the road. A Big Ten Conference Championship is the goal and the standard at Michigan, and that's what Brady Hoke has been enforcing and emphasizing this spring.
Anytime you want to win a championship, you need a trigger. Michigan has that in Devin Gardner, but they were able to build some depth due to his injury a year ago.
Oh, yeah, Devin Gardner, he is one of the leaders on this team, one of 9 seniors, but now they have Shane Morris. He started in the bowl game, and he had a pretty good showing, a pretty good debut. So now they have a full lineup at quarterback, and it should be exciting.
Well, you want to keep those guys upright. You want to keep them healthy. Last year, Michigan had 2 bookend tackles in Schofield and Lewan. Both will play in the NFL. This year, that offensive front 5 is young, but they got some experience a year ago, didn't they?
Experience is going to be the best teacher for this group. You have a lot of guys that played a lot of games, so they're going to hopefully find out if all that experience can pay dividends in 2014.
Well, if there's a strength for this club, besides the guys up front gaining some valuable experience, it has to be at the linebacker spot. You've got guys who played a lot of snaps a year ago, and they've got a lot of depth.
Yeah, they have a lot of depth at linebacker. Greg Madison is high on this group. Most notably, Jake Ryan moved from outside to inside, and Joe Bolden, he has emerged as one of the vocal leaders of this group. Look for these guys to fly around and make a lot of plays.
Loves what Joe Bolden has done in the spring as well. Stay right there. I don't want to kick my partner out of the booth, but he's going to head downstairs, give you a perfect scrimmage perspective. We talk to players, coaches, and show the improvements when we come back on BTN. Michigan fans can never get enough of Wolverine football. The spring football challenge taking place here in Ann Arbor on this sunny but chilly Saturday. Welcome back. Alongside Marcus Ray, Lisa Byington, I'm Matt Shepard. The Wolverines will go through most of this as a practice and then scrimmage at the very end. Already Devin Gardner and Shane Morris have taken an offensive snap. Welton Spite is the tall, lanky freshman from Richmond, Virginia, and is currently slotted as the number 3 quarterback. Didn't get a chance to throw there, but did put the ball in the belly of a running back for a running play. This is a team that returns 9 defensive starters, 7 on the offensive side, but their assistant coaches have shuffled around a little bit. Greg Madison remains the DC. Last year, he coached the D-line. This year, he coaches the linebackers. Coach Manning goes from last year's inside linebackers to corners. Kurt Mallory no longer the entire secondary, but the safety specifically. And there are some changes on the offensive side that you saw as well. And a big change there from Devin Gardner to Devin Funchess. Funchess wears 87 in blue, and he is an absolute animal on the outside, but he was an animal inside as a tight end at 6'4", 230, Marcus Ray. Can he make that switch from tight end to wide receiver? It's not often made. Usually it's the other way around. What will he have to do better this year in order to adapt to that position quickly?
Well, he's going to have to catch the football every time it touches his hands. He has to work on his route running. And believe it or not, Devin Funchess is a 4'4" guy. He can run a high 4'4". He runs great routes, but he needs to improve on his blocking, and he needs to understand the offense better from outside in. And now as a wide receiver, he's not inside the box. He's not going to move around a lot, so he has to primarily focus on his assignments playing from outside in as a wide receiver.
It's an interesting move because he was an all Big Ten selection. He was the tight end of the year, and you see the numbers there. They're gaudy for any tight end, no matter the system. But because so many people now envision tight ends in the form of a New Orleans Saints Jimmy Graham, Devin Funchess can be that kind of guy, can't he, Marcus? As a safety on the national championship in 1997, you had to cover tight ends who run seam routes. He can do that and beat you. No offense to you, of course.
Yeah, I never had to cover a guy that was 6'5" or 6'6" with that type of athleticism, 20 years ago.
Yeah.
But Devin Funchess is a matchup problem regardless of where he lines up on the field. He can out-jump smaller cornerbacks. He can go down inside and crack block. And then also he can play anywhere from the H-back to a move tight end to a Y guy, but expect other guys to get open because he's going to command a lot of attention in 2014. Every defense, Matt, needs to identify where 87 is going to be on the field.
All right, here's what a lot of people want to know. Do they make this move if they don't have a capable tight end in Jake Butt? He was so good last season, and granted, he tore the ACL, but they have A.J. Williams, Keith Heitzman, Mike Jose. They have a few guys who can step in and play some pretty productive tight end spot, don't you think?
Yeah, they have a lot of guys now at tight end, but the injury to Jake Butt during winter conditioning, that didn't help their cause at all. But this change happened a year ago when they struggled to find a solid number 2. When Amara Darboh went down with an injury, then some of the younger players weren't ready to step in, so Funchess moved to the outside, and that gave Jake Butt an opportunity to be the third leading receiver last year with 20 catches and scored 2 touchdowns. So that situation gave him a chance to move outside. They didn't necessarily make the switch due to the injury, but they're glad now that Jake Butt did step in. Heitzman has done a great job moving from defense to offense.
Right.
And then A.J. Williams, he's that solid wide tight end that they need. So they now have depth. Last spring, they only had 2 scholarship tight ends at this point.
Right. A.J. Williams is 6'6", 263-pound junior from Cincinnati. Now, the big change in Michigan's coaching staff, that man, Doug Nussmeier, he caught up with Lisa Byington moments ago to talk about philosophy.
Well, Coach Hoke says that you guys have implemented about 80 to 85% of your offense. How happy are you with this transition so far?
Well, we've got a long way to go. I'll tell you, really happy with the effort and the commitment our kids have made. They've worked extremely hard this spring, and we got a long way to go, but they're working hard, and we'll get there.
You have obviously worked with some well-named quarterbacks and some well-known quarterbacks at Alabama. You have a different skill set with a guy like Devin Gardner. How do you utilize that and maximize that in his last year?
Well, I mean, the biggest thing is for us to utilize, the strengths of all of our players, and obviously Devin's feet are one of his strengths, so we'll find different ways to add an element that the defense has to defend.
The biggest challenge maybe in your teaching, in your role, is what? Schematics? Is it language? What would you say?
Well, anytime you change systems, there's the language of it that everybody has to get used to, but we're changing a little bit the style in which we play, and our kids, like I said, they've done a great job. We still got a long way to go. We need to have a great summer, and like we told them, this is practice 15 today, but we got to come back to fall camp to practice 16, not go back to practice 1, so to say.
The biggest thing you want to accomplish today is what?
We just want to play clean, and play crisp. Obviously, we haven't been outdoors, so a little bit of this cold weather, what to win. The big thing is going to be ball security. We always talk about that. And, just making sure we're right from an alignment, assignment, and execution standpoint. We're not going to do anything tricky today. We're going to come out and just try to execute.
Thank you for the time. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Lisa.
Matt?
That's really good stuff. Nussmeier, of course, the quarterback's coach for Mark Bulger, is now in the NFL, or was in the NFL in St. Louis. Jake Locker at Washington. And then, as Lisa had mentioned, A.J. McCarron, who should be, top 5-round pick in the NFL draft. I like what Doug Nussmeier said, Marcus Ray. He said, if the kids know you care about them, they'll do whatever they can to be successful. And it's important to me to give them those tools and resources. Michigan provides a lot of those resources. Nussmeier, your impressions of him to equip them with the tools they need to be successful? So Nussmeier takes over an offense that, they need to tailor the offense a little bit. Don't you think, Marcus Ray? They need to tailor this offense to the type of weapons that he has, because he hasn't had a weapon like Devin Gardner before. And as they continue to work on the special teams, there's a good look at Devin Gardner. You'll see a lot of different lines at the Big House here today. Center circle, an almost baseball-like diamond at each end. Why is that? Well, because the great game of lacrosse is played here as well, and Michigan will play their annual game at the Big House right after this spring football matchup. Michigan playing Fairfield a little bit later on today. The Stags. A couple of years ago, we here on the Big Ten Network called Michigan and Ohio State. And the Wolverines still in their infancy in that sport. As Devin Gardner continues to warm up a little bit, and we'll throw a little bit later on. The scrimmage part of the spring football matchup will be later on today. We invite your feedback. We love reading and responding to your tweets. You can tweet your question about Michigan football with the hashtag #BigFootball. And Marcus Ray, B1G, right there. B1G football, the hashtag B1G football, with the responses coming from Marcus Ray, Lisa Byington, and yours truly. So the quarterbacks are now working on what, Marcus? They're in that left end zone, trying to work on the back of the end zone toss.
Yeah, this is a big-time drill for quarterbacks. They like to make those throws in the red zone and get their timing down as far as understanding where the ball needs to be placed and, you know, having a moving target or a standing target. So it's more of a catching drill for the wide receivers, but primarily it's for the quarterbacks to get used to throwing the ball right to the hands, right to the, you know, not to the numbers, but right to the reception point. And so as you see Coach Hecklinski and Nussmeier right now, they're simulating a defender standing right there, so those wide receivers can get a feel for what it's like to have a hand in their face. But this is an excellent drill for quarterbacks to work on timing and just step and throw. Not a whole lot of fundamentals. It's just one step and a quick release.
So it's out of the shotgun formation. A lot of teams and a lot of fans actually wonder, why do teams run out of a shotgun in the red zone? Why at the 5-yard line are you snapping it? It gives you a pre-read opportunity as a quarterback and might give you a chance to, you know, get the throw off a little quicker, don't you think?
Yeah, that's exactly right. And if something bad happens down at the goal line, then at least you fumble the ball behind the line of scrimmage. And then also you still want to loosen up the defense and give them a false sense of security that you still may throw the football. But now with the emergence of the spread offense, then you have quarterbacks who run the football, so it's hard to run the ball from under center.
So Marcus, we watched Devin Gardner throw, we see Shane Morris throw, you mentioned him in our open. Is there a competition between these two, 1 and 2? We don't know how much Russell Bellamy would be involved or Wilton Spate, but Devin Gardner and Shane Morris, do you believe there's a competition brewing there?
I believe a competition started at the beginning of the spring, and I say that because you have a new offensive coordinator. Everyone has new learning, new terminology, and if you don't know the system, if you're not picking up the plays, then it's going to show. You will get exposed. So since Devin Gardner is still the #1 quarterback at this point, to me, that tells me that he has emerged and he has picked up on the system and he's made more plays up to this point. But when you have a new coordinator, there's new learning, new communication, new terminology, and so Doug Nussmeier didn't come here with any ties to any quarterback. He didn't recruit any of these guys, so it was all fresh. It was a fresh new experience for everybody.
Devin Gardner admitted a year ago that his confidence waned at times because of some of the struggles, and yet he still had 14 touchdowns, just 3 picks in Big Ten competition. He was the 6th ever quarterback in Big Ten history with 500+ yards passing, 400+ yards rushing in the same game. He literally carried this club to compete against Ohio State, a very good, one of the best ball games we've seen all season long, unless you're, like Marcus Ray, a defensive first kind of guy. But this team, it'll be interesting to see how they handle protecting whichever quarterback is taking the snaps, because, Marcus, no team allowed more tackles for losses than Michigan's 113 a year ago. That has to be shored up.
Yeah, that has to be shored up, and that really truly affected their run game. They only averaged 125 yards on the ground, and so they also gave up 36 sacks. So Nussmeier has made a commitment to securing that offensive line and trying to find ways to get positive yardage and find guys who can make explosion plays or big plays. So they have worked in a lot of different guys on the offensive line at various positions. You know, Mason Cole, he has stepped up, the early enrollee, the true freshman. David Dawson has worked both left guard and left tackle, and, you know, Magnuson, he's been there. He missed a little bit of time, but all 5 guys are competing to play. They want to put the best 5 guys on the team because Nussmeier knows he cannot run his downhill attack style offense if he doesn't secure the offensive line and the quarterback. So Michigan lost a lot of yards last year, and they've worked the entire spring trying to fix that problem.
Well, you're a great safety, but there was no better cornerback in the history of this school than Charles Woodson, and he's with our own Lisa Byington. Lisa?
Yes. I think it's going to be safe that you're going to keep your eye on the defensive guys here today. Who in particular are you watching?
In particular, I guess I'm watching the corners, because of course that's what I played while I was here. So, I got a chance to talk to Countess last night and a few of the other guys. So I watch those guys, see what they're all about. I talked to Funches last night, so, eager to watch him and see how he progresses as a player. So I got my eye on a few guys.
When you talk to those guys, what's your biggest message to them going into next season?
It's all about your mind frame, and where you are as a person and what you want to get accomplished. The coaches can only take you so far, what I'm saying? At some point, you got to take it upon yourself. If you want to be the best player on the field, then you got to be the best player on the field, not only in games. It happens out here in spring ball. It'll happen when training camp comes around, working every day and preparing yourself to be the best. That's the only way it's going to happen. So that's what I try to get across to them.
Well, enjoy your day today. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
All right, Lise, Dennis Allen has himself a good one. That's right. The Oakland Raiders get Charles Woodson back yet again. Good move by Reggie McKenzie, their general manager. I know a lot of Lions fans would have loved to have seen Charles Woodson in Honolulu blue and silver. So he's talking about Blake Countess, who led this team in picks a year ago, 7th in the nation with 6, an all-conference selection. And Marcus Ray at the other corner, they got Jordan Lewis. He's the sophomore on Detroit Cass Tech, who helped that high school to back-to-back state championships, was a captain of the all-dream team. You would think they're set at the cornerback position, and yet Jabril Peppers, the 2nd overall best player in all of high school throughout the country, is coming here to Ann Arbor as soon as his high school graduates. What's the situation there? Is that all about depth, or do you think their 2 corners are locked in?
Well, Michigan returns, obviously, Blake Countess and Ray Taylor. They finished up 1 and 2, respectively, in interceptions. But a guy like Jabril Peppers, he saw an opportunity. He wants to be better than Charles Woodson. So he saw that there were some young guys out there that still gave up a lot of plays. He feels like he can add value to this secondary. But Jordan Lewis, you brought him up. He has been the surprise player in the entire spring, in my opinion. And a lot of the coaches, especially Roy Manning, are very high on the progression of Jordan Lewis. And he's actually he took a lot of reps with the ones, and he's forcing Ray and Blake to step their game up. But all of that works into Greg Madison's favor, because now he can play more prey. He can blitz more, he can play more man. And then when you face a spread team, now you have 3 true corners on the field, and that should really help out and help you get to that quarterback.
Yeah.
But Jordan Lewis is a guy who has opened up plenty of eyes this spring.
Yeah, you bring up Ray Taylor. He led the team in tackles, so it's a good point. He wears 6 in white. There's Taylor. And you see they're being coached by Coach Manning. Now, last year, inside linebacker coach. This year, cornerbacks coach. They have separated the corners and the safeties for coaches. You as a former safety, does that help, hinder, or does it even matter to you as a player?
Well, when I played here, it didn't really matter. We had a great group, but we had less guys. And now today, moving Roy Manning from the outside linebackers to the corners, that gives you more eyes on less guys. So now Kurt Mallory can focus on the safeties, Roy can focus on the corners, and then you can give each player individual attention. So right now, in today's world, you need 2 defensive back coach. Most universities and colleges, they're doing the same thing, but I think that's going to be the biggest dividend that's going to pay off for Michigan secondary. Is now they got 2 guys back there. Now Kurt Mallory, his load is lightened up. And then Roy Manning, there are some guys, there are football coaches, and then there are guys coaching football. Roy Manning is a football coach. He can coach any position. And they actually met with some pro coaches to get some help to help mentor Roy. So the corners have taken the switch in a positive way, and so far, so good.
Corners and safeties work on the backpedaling drill right there under Coach Roy Manning. We'll be back to Ann Arbor as the Wolverines go through their spring drills here in front of a nice crowd here at the Big House, and only here on the Big Ten Network. Welcome back to Ann Arbor, and welcome back to the Michigan spring practice. Wolverines going through their paces right now alongside Marcus Ray, Lisa Byington. I'm Matt Shepard. If you want to tweet a question at us, we welcome that. And here's one from Real Muscle Gamer. Must be from Marcus Ray. How do you feel the Michigan offensive line has improved this year? Do we see a more reactive offense with Coach Nussmeier? Marcus Ray, what do you think about the offensive line as they go through some of their paces right now under the tutelages of Coach Funk?
Well, so far, Coach Funk and Doug Nussmeier, they've simplified the blocking schemes up front. When you have a young team, you know, they felt like a season ago the offensive system was too complex and things changed from week to week. Now they have a couple of blocking schemes that have been implemented. You know, so Doug Nussmeier believes that if he can keep these guys from doing a lot of thinking and just play football, that they'll be all right. But when you have guys auditioning all over the place, from left guard all the way to right guard and center and tackle, it's still going to take a little bit of time for you to find that cohesion that you want from an offensive line. But I think this offensive line, they're attacking and they're picking up the blitz a lot more. I noticed in practice that Michigan and, well, the offense and the defense went at it at a full live blitz period because Nussmeier wanted to take as many reps as he could versus the blitz with this offensive line.
Well, what are they doing right now? What are they working on here in this drill?
Well, the offensive line right now, they're working on a reach drill. Let me see. I'm making sure I'm like right here. Let me see. I got the tight ends. Oh, they're on the other side. There you go.
There you go. looks like it's a double team there, Marcus.
Oh, that right there is a combo drill.
Okay.
That's a combo drill because anytime you have a zone blocking team, they like to work on the front level, double, and chip up to the second level. So the offense and defense both get a chance to, you know, defensive line wants to stay in his gap, but the offensive line wants to try to at least secure the gap on level one and then move up to the second level. That's called a double and chip drill right there.
So level one being the line of scrimmage, level two being the linebackers as the offensive line tries to reach the linebackers, right?
Exactly right.
Okay. Well, it's a young offensive line. We've already made mention of that. And we don't know exactly how it's going to play out, but when you have Mason Cole, a freshman, David Dawson, a redshirt freshman, Kyle Bosch, a sophomore, Jack Miller, a redshirt junior, Kyle Kalis, a redshirt sophomore, Ben Braden, a redshirt sophomore. There's guys like Pat Kugler who are in the mix as a redshirt freshman. As you can tell just by those classes, there's not a lot of guys there who played a ton of games. But last year, those who did, I would guess it would benefit greatly for them coming into this season.
Yeah, Shep, you're exactly right. See, these young guys, they went through it last year,
yeah.
and they've been helping one another out. They believe in competition, and they know that the best five will play. So Magnuson, look for him to anchor and replace where Taylor Lewan left on the left side, and then as you move inside, there's a lot of guys who can mix and match. So Kugler, Miller, Glasgow, all those guys can play center or guard. And then as you move to the right side of the line, Kyle Kalis will be there. And then you have Braden. So they're very high on Braden. But this group believes that they're going to get better. It's a new day. They put everything behind them, but they've taken ownership for those 36 sacks. They've taken ownership for the lack of production in the run game. So Brady Holt, to a man, has forced everyone to step it up.
Well, here's what they had in Taylor Lewan a year ago, an absolute beast on the left side. Some pro personnel people I've talked to have said he would have been the first tackle taken last year. This year, he is one of, if not the best. And you can make an argument. There's a couple of other guys who are in that discussion. Big kid out of Auburn, big kid out of Texas A&M. But Taylor Lewan had 41 consecutive starts. The 9th player ever to start 4 years at Michigan. You just can't replace experience. Coaches will tell you that at every level, Marcus.
Oh, yeah, you're exactly right. He was an All-American, especially in the Big Ten. When you're an offensive lineman, player of the year, 2 years in a row, that speaks volumes. It also speaks to the coaching of Daryl Funk. So they feel like they have more Taylor Lewans on the way. Just the talent pool is just in the underclassmen right now. And they're saying, hey, a year or 2 years from now with that line and these young running backs, Michigan's offense could be unstoppable. But I don't want to go that far in the future. They feel like come September and you start to get into conference play moving into October, this Michigan offensive line is going to gel and be a cohesive unit.
Let's hope so. The running backs sure hope so. They would like to average better than 3 yards per carry, which is what they averaged a year ago. Derek Green is trimmed down a little bit. We'll talk more about the running attack of the Maize and Blue when we come back on the Big Ten Network after this. BTN goes where you want, when you want it, with BTN to Go, presented by Auto Owners Insurance. Watch live events on your computer, tablet, or smartphone. To learn more, visit btntogo.com. Also available in the App Store and on Google Play. Download it today. Glad you're with us on this Saturday. It's a beautiful day here in Ann Arbor as the Wolverines go through their spring practice. under the eyes of one Brady Hoke in his 4th year, and his season will start a day earlier than it did a year ago, opening up here at the Big House against Appalachian State. I know a lot of people get the shivers when they see that name on the schedule. And then the final game for who knows how long against Notre Dame in South Bend before coming home against Miami and Utah. And the interesting part of this is the Rutgers edition and the Maryland edition. Those are 2 teams that enter Big Ten play this upcoming season in all sports. And the Wolverines will be at Rutgers and will host Maryland just before they play the big game against Ohio State. And of course, every game is big. Last year, Michigan started so well, they blew out of the gates to a 5-0 start before hitting a rough patch at Penn State in an overtime loss. And it's a team that lost 4 games by 4 points or less, a total of 11 points in all. Derek Green is hoping to fix that. The sophomore from Richmond, Virginia, Marcus Ray, lost 20 pounds. He's a lot quicker in the spring this year.
Yeah, Derek Green, he took ownership, losing weight, holding himself accountable, because he started off a lot bigger in camp last year, and he really believes that affected his game. But with his run style, he can hold about 225 pounds and get downhill, but most importantly, he wanted to be more agile. He felt like sometimes on contact, he stopped his feet, and now he's more powerful. He's been in the weight room for 6 or 7 months now, 8 months since he's been in school, and he told me he expects to be a different running back and a difference maker for the Wolverines this year.
Yeah, last year gained almost 300 yards, a couple of touchdowns, but as an All-American out of Richmond, Virginia, not the kind of year that he expected. Sometimes those are the valuable lessons you learn, Marcus. When you come on campus, the dorm food is out, the healthy food is in, the weight room is always open, and it's up to you to push yourself a little bit, isn't it?
Yeah, it sure is. You have to have a lot of discipline and eat right, especially in the off season, like in the summertime when there is no training table,
right,
when school is out. But I actually had dinner with Derek and those guys a couple of times during the spring and then during winter conditioning, and these guys, to a man, they ate right. They made a dedication that everyone's going to be in shape because they feel like Michigan feels like they got tired and they didn't finish in certain games. There were a lot of breakdowns late in games, whether it was 2-minute defense or a 2-minute offensive situation. They just feel like staying in shape and being able to play for 4 quarters is going to give them a fighting chance to win a lot of ball games.
Do me a favor, next time invite me to that dinner table because I could eat a lot better. Maybe if I followed the recipe of one Derek Green, it'd be a lot better off. There's Fred Jackson. He leads his running backs down the field for different drills, and Fred Jackson has been a valuable member to a number of different staffs here in Ann Arbor for a long, long time. He really reaches out to guys, and it's not just running backs. He can really relate to a lot of different types of players, can't he?
Yeah, Fred Jackson, man, he's one of my favorite coaches. When I played here, his door was always open, and he promised me that he would let me score a touchdown on Ohio State if the game was out of reach, but 97 game got a little bit closer than expected. But no, Freddie has touched a lot of lives. And when all the former players come back, they always come back and they see Fred Jackson, and we always tease him like, hey. So that's Freddie Jackson's thing. He's a great guy. Every position loves Freddie Jackson.
You don't remember this, but when you did get that win in Columbus, I was on the sidelines, and I interviewed you after that game. It was one of the priceless interviews that I've ever conducted in my broadcasting career. How excited you were, how much of an accomplishment you and your teammates had. I still remember it to this day. It was awesome. It really was.
Yeah, that was an awesome day. It was a special day in Michigan football, and really all the hard work had paid off. I'm standing down here with some of these guys. I got Charles Woodson trying to tease me, telling me I'm not talking to anybody. And I'm trying to work, and these guys are down here teasing me. But that was a special day. And we had a lot of guys back yesterday for the rededication of Schembechler Hall. We had over 500 former players back, and they showed the statue of Bo Schembechler. And all the renovations they've done has really made it more inviting for former players to come back and have access to practice. So our 97 team is very, very close-knit. A lot of guys still, a couple guys still playing, but a lot of guys having a lot of success with their adult lives.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that, and that's what makes college so special. I don't care if you played with Rick Leach, John Wangler, Marcus Ray, John Jansen. All you guys are very tight, and I think it's pretty cool. You just mentioned Bo Schembechler. Bo Schembechler Hall is where they now have the Michigan Football Hall of Fame, and 7,000 square feet of absolute maize and blue spectacular. Every single one of those footballs indicates a win for Michigan. That's right, there are 910 of them. Look at that. That is really cool. And then games in front of them on the 2014 schedule. I was in there the other day, and it is simply spectacular. Heisman Trophy winners, numbers retired, the bowl games, and the special interactive features that decorate now Schembechler Hall, similar to what we've seen at Chrysler here on Big Ten Network when we do our Emmy Award-winning coverage of basketball games as well. It's a phenomenal facility. Folks, if you can, before you see Michigan play, whomever it is on the schedule, whether it be Appalachian State, Indiana, Maryland, whomever, try to venture on over there and get a good look at it. It's worth checking out. This is the freshman quarterback, Wilton Speight, from Richmond, Virginia. All he did last year was throw for 2,800 yards and 33 touchdowns. And I understand it's at a high school level, but somebody's got to have some talent to do that, right? And the year before, it was over 3,000 yards for Speight and 45 touchdowns. That's as a junior. So the last 2 years in his high school campaign, he threw for almost 6,000 yards and 78 touchdowns. Those are video game-like numbers. And eventually he hopes to throw those in a winged helmet as well. He hands off to Justice Hayes, who's in that mix, the running back mix, with Davion Smith and Derek Green and others. But right now, they have to feel a lot better about the opportunities with their young backs. And none of them are older than a Justice Hayes, who's a redshirt junior. So they feel like they've got speed, they feel like they've got bulk, and they can ram it down your throat if need be in the short term. And if it's a sprint to the edge, Marcus, with Smith and Hayes, they've got plenty of speed in that regard too, don't they?
Yeah, they got plenty of speed with Hayes. And you see Ross Douglas right there, one of my favorite guys, who's wearing a 29, but he made that switch from cornerback to running back. And that's what Michigan football is all about, the team, and doing whatever it takes to win. But Ross has showed a lot of wiggle, and it's been very competitive. You know, Davion Smith gives you that power. Derek Green gives you that power, that downhill smash mouth style, falling forward, keeping your feet moving. And then Justice Hayes and Ross Douglas give you that lightning, that speed off the edge and around the perimeter. And also look for Dennis Norfleet to slide in the backfield every now and then from his slot position. So now he can run some sweeps and bubble screens. So he adds another dynamic, too, to this offense.
Yeah, he's a tough guy to find at 5'7", 167 with a boatload of speed. Let's check in with Lisa Byington, who has another Heisman Trophy. They're just flocking to you, aren't they, Lisa? What's going on?
They are. Desmond Howard with me now. And I'm curious, if you had one message for this team heading into the 2014 season, what would it be after being so close in so many games last year?
Well, that's a good question. I think that anytime you talk to a team, you got to kind of get the vibe of that team, even though what happened last year was 2013's team. This is 2014's team, and we're going to see, different personalities, different people in leadership roles. I would just say try to perseverance is key. Perseverance is really key and important in any football season and for any team going to a new season. So I would strive to tell them to, I would tell them to strive for perseverance and to make sure they pay attention to detail. To me, when you are close in so many games and you can't get over that hump, it's the finer things, it's the small details that you come up short with, so pay attention to detail.
One of those leaders is a fifth-year senior, is your quarterback, is Devin Gardner. What step does he need to take to lead this team next year?
Seems like he's been here forever, huh? Was he working on his PhD now or what? I would tell Devin, I think Devin is a natural leader. I really do. I think that Devin needs to lead by example. I think that's the most important thing. He's going to have a great influence on some of these younger players, but what they're going to really pay attention to is how he work out, how he lift weights, how he practices, how he is in meetings and everything, how much he participates in meetings. So I think he's going to have to really lead by example because people are going to look towards him for leadership, and I do believe he has great leadership qualities.
All right, well, thanks for giving us some time. We appreciate it.
Anytime, my pleasure.
Good stuff from Desmond Howard and Devin Gardner, a guy who last year was such a threat as a running quarterback, but a passing quarterback as well. I had a chance to talk with him earlier this week about exactly what Lisa was discussing with Desmond Howard, embracing the leadership role.
I mean, definitely, because I'm the oldest guy on the offense. I think I'm the only offensive senior, so that's going to put a lot on me to be able to lead the younger guys that are going to get a chance to contribute.
What have you done in the offseason to make yourself a better quarterback?
I've been working really hard with Coach Nuss, working on, fronts, coverages, make sure I'm able to identify defenses, faster so I can make quicker decisions.
How is his offense different than Al Borges's?
I mean, we got a lot of hots, a lot of things to deal with blitz and, things like that. And like Coach Oak always says, we're going to run the ball and we got to take advantage of shots when we take them.
How long will it take you to fully feel comfortable with Coach Nussmeier's offense? I
mean, right now I'm feeling really comfortable for what we have. We have a lot of offense, and he said pretty much all of it. So he said a lot of it is basic stuff right now, and we'll add on it, in the summertime.
What is your comfort level with the weapons that you have, including Devin Funchess, who now moves from one of the best tight ends in the country to now outside the numbers, even though he played there a little bit last year?
I'm really comfortable with our weapons. We got a nice surprise from Freddie Canteen, who's playing very well, and Devin Funchess is playing well as well. So we get Amara Darbo back, from injury, so it'll be great for us.
It's always a plus when you've got more than one weapon. There's one of them. Devin Funchess last year, combined with Jeremy Gallant, for 2,121 yards. They were the top tandem in a single season in U of M football history. That speaks volumes about how good those two guys were in combination with Devin Gardner, who completed, Marcus Ray, 60% of his passes. A lot of times we'll look at the final numbers as the handoff went to Justice Hayes there, but really important to be able to keep that completion rate up. Freddie Canteen will help him. He's the freshman from Elkton, Maryland, a natural slot receiver. He's caught a lot of people's eye, including yours, hasn't he?
Yeah, we call him Freddie Footwork. He's fast, he has moves, he just needs to get in the weight room, work on his blocking, but he has made a lot of explosive plays, or the type of plays that Nussmeier wants to have in this offense, and he brings a different dynamic, and I think he's gotten these defensive backs better. I mean, he has really challenged them, and he can take the top off of any defense quickly.
He runs a Marcus Ray-like 4.4340. When we come back, we will talk more about Marcus Ray's favorite side of the football. That's right, the defense. We'll focus on some linebackers because we think that is the deepest part of this Michigan football team. We'll look at some of the corners and how they'll catch a guy like Justice Hayes, who's got that blazing speed, in Freddie Canteen. The secondary and more when we return to Ann Arbor on the Big Ten Network. Glad you're with us. Football today here on the Big Ten Network. Tomorrow it's a doubleheader of baseball action on BTN. First it's Penn State and Purdue, and it's Illinois and Northwestern. Coverage starts at noon Eastern Sunday on BTN and BTN to go. Great look at the Wolverines with a couple of new teams in the Big Ten and new divisions as well. That's right, they go from leaders and legends to East and West. Here's your East Division with Michigan, Michigan State, Ohio State, Penn State, the two newcomers in Rutgers and Maryland, and of course the Indiana Hoosiers as well. And then the West Division led by Iowa and Nebraska. Then you got Jerry Kill's Minnesota Golden Gophers, Illinois, Northwestern, Purdue, and Wisconsin as well. For some, maybe a little bit easier to follow. We'll look at the defense right now for this Michigan squad. Greg Madison is the defensive coordinator. Still one of the best in the business, but now instead of working with the defensive line specifically, he works with linebackers. Is that unique, Marcus Ray, for a defensive coordinator to work on a specific position in your mind?
No, it's not uncommon. Most coordinators at least coach one position, whether it be the secondary linebackers or the defensive line. So it works in his favor. He says that coordinating from the middle is going to give him an opportunity to make the right call because he's a part of the front seven in the run, and then he's also a part of the coverage aspect of the defense. Last year he felt like when he made a call, he had to confer with the rest of the coaches to see if the stunt matched the coverage or if everyone was comfortable with it. But now when he's coordinating from the middle, he can see everything from inside out, and he's very excited about that.
And it's not something he's just done here at Michigan. When he was at Western Michigan, he coached a specific group. When he was at Florida, he did the same thing. Earlier today, he had a chance to catch up with Lisa Byington, and they talk about the defense and his switch to linebackers.
Well, Coach, I know you will only show limited stuff here this afternoon, but with the stuff you do show, how will this defense look different from last year?
Well, you're right. I mean, this is more like a practice for us, and I've been very, very pleased with the defense this spring. I think we have a defense that is a lot more physical than it's been. I think our guys run better, and they have a tremendous attitude. I think they really want to be a Michigan defense. One
of the big changes, of course, is Jake Ryan going from the outside to inside linebacker. How has he adjusted to that change so far?
Very well. You know, Jake hasn't played linebacker since his senior year in high school, but I wanted to do this last year. Brady and I talked about it, but we didn't want to do it when he just came off a knee, and he just loves it. And you got one of your very best football players playing in the middle of the field now instead of playing on an edge all the time.
Tell me about just the linebacking core as a whole. A lot of people view that maybe as the strength of this defense. How have they gelled together with not only Jake changing positions, but a lot of other guys as well?
Well, I've been pleased with them this spring. Like I said, they have really tried to become a lot more physical, and I think we did some good things last year, but I didn't know if we were as physical as we should have been, and we've worked very hard at pressuring, and I think you're going to see a lot more active group of backers.
Thanks for the time, Coach Masson.
Yep.
Matt?
9 defensive starters returning, Lisa, to Greg Madison's defense. And you had talked, and he talked about Jake Ryan, the fifth-year senior from Westlake, Ohio, who last year limited to 8 games because of the injury, but an all-Big Ten performer in 2012 at the second-team level, where he led this team in tackles. He was an all-Big Ten freshman performer in 2011. He's a pro, Marcus, right? I mean, when you look at Jake Ryan, you know he can play at the next level. When you look at Devin Funchess, he can play at the next level. In order for you to win year in and year out and compete for not just conference titles, but national championships, you got to have some of those guys. It's not a whole lot different than basketball, don't you think?
Yeah, you're exactly right, Matt, because the team I played on in '97, we had at least 30 guys who eventually played at the next level. So that's 1/3 or more than 1/3 of our scholarship roster. But you're right about Jake Ryan. I think he's going to do himself a favor by moving inside. And now he becomes an every down guy. So you heard Coach Madison speak about teams spreading him out, having him play in space and on the edge. Now he's in the middle of everything, and you can't hide from Jake Ryan. And he has a blitz mentality. He does a great job of using his hands to get off blocks. Keep a close eye on that today. So rushing the passer is going to be easier for him at the linebacker position because he did it so well a couple of seasons ago.
All right, you know this better than anybody else, though. Part of the middle linebacker's job, though, is also to call the defensive play, the formations. He must be able to do that quickly. That will be an adjustment from the outside or even DN to middle linebacker for Jake Ryan. He's going to make that call and make it quick, doesn't he?
Yeah, that's going to be a huge adjustment. But he's picked up on everything this spring. And believe it or not, he understood the defense in its entirety from the defensive end position, even though he wasn't the field general. But he's taking ownership of the huddle. He's holding guys accountable in meetings. And he knows that this defense can be a lot better if that Mike Backer the guy that's in the middle makes a lot of plays. And he has to make guys around him better. Get those defensive linemen in the right gaps. Make sure those other 2 linebackers, we talk about Joe Bolden and Desmond Morgan, Mike McCray, Ben Gideon, get all those guys lined up, but they're going to rally around 47.
All right, let's talk a little bit about the big nasties up front. You look at Frank Clark, you look at Matt Godin, you look at Ryan Glasgow, you look at Brendan Byer, Taco Charlton. There's a ton of guys up front. Mario Echemudia. These are guys who have played some games now, but they've gotten stronger, they've gotten thicker, and they've gotten smarter, too, up front, haven't they?
Yeah, and I give a lot of credit to defensive line coach Mark Smith. Obviously, he coached the linebackers, and then he moved to the defensive front, but he coached the D-line for 15, 20 years or so. So he feel like he's back at home.
At Indiana State, he did it there, right?
What'd you say?
I said he did it at Indiana State from 1988 to 2002. So he's got that experience, right? That helps.
Yeah. Yeah, he has a ton of experience, and these guys are competing too. You see Maurice Hurst Jr., Monet, the early enrollee.
Yep.
He's made a ton of noise. He's tough to block. They're high on him, and he's lost 30 pounds since his arrival on campus. So you get Pipkins back into the lineup, Willie Henry. These guys want to attack offensive fronts in waves, 2 plays and out, 3 plays and out. So everybody's going to play hard because that gives them more snaps.
Well, Marcus, it's one of the few positions really in sports where you've got to have that depth. When people look at defensive line, it's not a position where you can play every single down. It takes too much out of you to push against that wall for a good 4 or 5 seconds for a while.
Yeah, the offense and defensive line are the 2 positions that get contact every single snap. And those are the big bodies. They wear out easily. So when you go hard and play for 6 or 7 seconds per snap and you sell out, the next guy comes in, his legs should be fresh. And that's what Greg Madison wants to do, is get pressure rushing forward. But when he sends that blitz, he told me, I don't call it blitz for you to get blocked one-on-one. So if you're blocked one-on-one, you better make a play.
All right, these are all timed out. It's a regiment that Michigan has. They time out every single one of these drills. Each group has a certain amount of time to perform the drill, and they're going to spend a certain amount of time on this drill. What are we looking at right now, Marcus Ray? How is this helping? Are they working on a specific side of the line of scrimmage here?
Yeah, this is called a half-line drill. Half-line where you don't work all 11 at a time, and they feel like they get more reps, better tempo, and they get more guys on camera where you can teach and explain their mistakes, but it's for the offense and defensive benefit. But this teaches how to run support from your side. So Michigan did a lot of this in the spring, and it's called pods or a half-line drill. And so you got your 3 guys up front. You see Jake Ryan getting off a block right there, and so they don't have the secondary a part of that drill. That's another drill later.
Good look at Joe Bolden right there, one of the linebackers in the mix, the junior from Cincinnati, all Big Ten freshman a couple of years ago, All-American in high school. It's in Cincinnati there at St. Ignatius, and 13 games played a year ago for Michigan. One of the many linebackers that Marcus was talking about before. James Ross is in there, Royce Jenkins Stone is in there, Mike McCray. There's a lot of guys who are going to get fair looks, and that's what happens when you have competition. Lisa Byington, a very special event taking place last night on campus in Ann Arbor. Tell us about it, will you?
Yeah, this is just part of the Michigan experience, this spring game, and of course the alumni game before this. But the unveiling, the centerpiece of the renovation of Schembechler Hall. And there it is, the Bo statue, unveiled by his widow, Kathy. A life-size statue just outside the entrance of Schembechler Hall. The statue, an iconic sideline image there. They really tried to capture him and what he was like as a coach. Interesting, too, when I was talking to Desmond Howard here on the sideline, he said he has not seen it yet. He just arrived in Ann Arbor just before the spring game. The first thing he's going to do when this spring game is done is walk over by himself, and he wants to look at the statue. He said he has not seen any pictures of it. He purposely stayed off Twitter because the first impression he wants to have is his own impression with his own eyes.
It's good, and I think it's well done. I mean, I don't know about you, Lisa. I went over there. I saw it. It looks really good, don't you think? I mean, it looks just like him.
And it's hard, I think, sometimes to capture the essence of someone in a statue form. And I was completely impressed by that. And reading some of the articles by the guy who sculpted it, J. Brett Grill, I mean, he took a lot of research and interviewing even Bo's widow, Kathy, and some of the players who played for Bo, and trying to really capture the essence of him through that one piece of bronze statue that's right outside that building.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Well done. So when we come back, we'll take a look at get you ready for the scrimmage. This is what a lot of people are here to watch. They want to see these guys bang heads and collide. And we'll do that when we come back on the Big Ten Network on a sunny Saturday in Ann Arbor. We invite you to register right now. It's open for the 2014 BTN Big 10K. Represent your school on July 26th in Chicago. The 10K and 5K races include a post-race fan fest that includes Big Ten mascots, food, and a whole lot more. Register today at www.btnbig10k.com. That's btnbig10k.com. Beautiful day. You can't infuse them young enough with Michigan football. It's in the blood of many people here in Ann Arbor and Michigan fans everywhere. Boy, it's a lot better today than it has been the last couple of seasons, hasn't it been, folks? Last couple of years, really cold, chilly, rainy, and you had to be a true diehard. Here today, it's a beautiful day to not just watch a little football, but also watch a little lacrosse right afterwards as the Michigan lacrosse team takes on Fairfield. We invite any of your tweets. Burnsy381 asks, any talk of Peppers playing on both sides of the ball, much like Lisa Byington's earlier game guest, Charles Woodson? There has not been any talk of that just yet, Burnsy381, but we can tell you this, when he does show up on campus, he will be thrown into that mix of corners. Now, remember, Charles Woodson started as a corner. He played corner and safety at a Pro Bowl and Hall of Fame level in the NFL. Many people have compared, fairly or unfairly, Jabril Peppers to that man right there. Well, Jabril Peppers, from everybody I've talked to, and we've probably seen just about as much as you have, and that's YouTube video and so on and so on. He is the real deal, and he is the crown jewel of the 2014 football class. 7 are already here, and many already making a name for themselves. Guys like Mason Cole, Freddie Canteen, Drake Harris, we know about him. He's injured right now. He missed his senior year with a hamstring injury, but this is a guy who's all-state in football and basketball his junior year, a guy who runs a 4.40. So there are a lot of big names for Michigan football, and Jabril Peppers highlights all of them. The number 2 prospect in the country, and I know Michigan coaches and fans can't wait for him to get on campus. I will say this, a lot of pressure on that kid, but he's used to it. When you play at such a high level, like he has throughout his entire high school career, I suppose the pressure becomes a moot point. Nice throw right there from Devin Gardner to Freddie Canteen. The guy that we have been talking about, Canteen, the freshman from Maryland, who is extremely fast and also extremely sure-handed. Don't always necessarily find that with guys reaching this next level. We watched the first team operate under the guidance of the 5th-year senior from Inkster High School, Devin Gardner. Curl around on the outside numbers to Devin Funchess. Funchess battling Jordan Lewis on the outside. Doug Nussmeier joins the conversation in the helmet with Devin Gardner to give him those, or right there, I should say, not inside the helmet, but right there behind the huddle, if you will, to give him the play and what he expects of him. Gardner last year, almost 3,000 yards. Rushed for 11 touchdowns in his career so far. Trying to hit an out pattern to one of his wide receivers. There's also practice for the officials. There's a lot of officials on the field here in Ann Arbor because there was an officials, it wasn't a convention, but a huge meeting almost, and a clinic where these guys can learn to get better too. It's not just players and coaches in the offseason trying to get better. Officials are as well. That's not always recognized by fans watching at home, though. Gardner wants to throw again. This is a passing drill, and throws outside the numbers to the opposite side. It's Funchess again. They plan to hook up quite a bit this year. We're at Michigan Stadium in Ann Arbor for the Michigan spring practice. Former Michigan national champ Marcus Ray, and a former captain of the Michigan football team in 1998, won a championship in 1997. Lisa Byington, and I'm Matt Shepard. The scrimmage about to take place. In the past, Brady Hoke hasn't been really big on that, but this year we'll see a little bit of it. Ones against ones. Shane Morris, on number 2 on the depth chart right now, the sophomore from Warren De La Salle High School. He started the bowl game against Kansas State a year ago, the Buffalo Wild Wings Bowl, which Michigan lost 31-14, but did showcase a big arm as he connects with DeMario Jones there, a sophomore from Westland John Glenn High School. Brady Hoke in 3 years, 26-13 here in Ann Arbor. to throw again. A little underneath route. This one to Vivian Smith out of the backfield. He's from Warren, Ohio. A little bit of hurry up too. This allows this offense to work on its get plays, call them at the line of scrimmage, get guys into their spots, adjust them properly. Morris working there with Jack Miller, redshirt junior from Perrysburg, Ohio. He wears 60 in blue. A three-step drop this time and a quick slant that is hauled in for the Wolverines. It's on the money from Shane Morris. Shane Morris has got one of those big arms, doesn't he, Marcus? You like his arm. It comes out differently from a lefty, but players get used to that fast enough, don't they? Catching a righty from Devin Gardner, a lefty from Shane Morris.
Yeah, I think players adjust easily, but Shane Morris, he has a hand cannon, Shep. You know, he needs to work on his accuracy. Sometimes the coaches tell him to take some of it off and work on some touch, but he's a young quarterback with a strong arm. And Nussmeier was a left-hand quarterback, so yeah, you got
right.
So they have a little common bond right there. So the coaching has been a lot easier for Shane.
That time, Jack Wangler was the intended receiver, the redshirt freshman. Wangler, the son of John Wangler, who just played in the alumni game moments ago. Played under Bo Schembechler, wore number 5. His son wears number 16 here in Ann Arbor. And now we take a look at the freshman, Will Spate. 6'6", 238-pounder. It's just out of the backfield. That's to a tailback. I know it's a cliche, but if you want to just make a team, I don't care what team it is, if all you can do is run, you're in the wrong business. You got to be able to catch the ball out of the backfield these days, don't you?
Sure do, Shep. You have to be able to catch the ball out of the backfield and then do something with it after you make that catch. But more importantly, these guys have been competing in pass protection because the running back spot was an area of concern last year. It wasn't just the offensive line. It was the entire blocking scheme and all the guys included. So if you're a guy who can pass protect, which Fred Jackson believes is the toughest thing to pick up for a young running back.
Yeah, protecting the passer at all costs, and it's not just the job of an offensive lineman. It's a job of wide receivers sometimes who need to go downfield and block for tailbacks, but sometimes are asked to stay in. Some guys who are running in motion, but especially for running backs, they have to be able to chip block well and give that quarterback that extra second an opportunity to scan the field.
Yeah, you're exactly right. That extra second can be the difference between winning and losing, or first down, or a two-point conversion. Because they feel like against Ohio State, if they would have had one more second to throw that football, or if Devin would have thrown it a hair sooner, they would have won that football game. But all bodies, all parties included, need to execute in pass protection.
We heard you talk about Doug Nussmeier on the field. Lisa Byington did that interview with him. When they say 80 to 85% of their offense, what do you think is the last few percentages that need to be implemented, number one? And number two, how deep is that playbook? Is it any deeper than maybe what you and your teammates used to experience?
I think nowadays these offenses they're more innovative, they're creative, and they're spread oriented. But some of the blocking schemes are the same. But what teams try to do is spread you out and give you a pass formation and then run the ball to create running lanes. I think his playbook is based off of his personnel too. I think Nussmeier's saying, I don't want to give this young offense too much to, you don't want to feed a baby from a fire hose. You want to give him a little bit at a time. I think maybe his third and long package may not be in because they've been practicing trying to have positive plays, more second and 8 type of situational or third and short.
I remember when Greg Madison came back and he could preach to his defensive players. Not that he didn't already have the respect, but the fact that he could use experiences that he had with Ed Reed and Ray Lewis. That's huge. When Doug Nussmeier comes back and said, look, I coached Mark Bulger in St. Louis. I coached a first-round draft pick, Jake Locker, at the University of Washington, now in Tennessee. I coach A.J. McCarron, who's won multiple national championships at Alabama. That kind of exudes a lot of confidence from his players and believability, right?
Oh, that definitely does. He provides instant credibility, and the kids believe. They hold on to every word that he says. They hang on to it, and they know. They've seen these guys. So Nussmeier is the guy, and they love him so far.
The guy in the middle they love is Brady Hoke. The scrimmage is next on BTN. Stay right there. From the diamond to the field and everywhere else in between, we keep you up to date on all the happenings in the conference. This week in the Big Ten premieres tomorrow night, 6 o'clock Eastern on BTN. Some outstanding programming. I think you'll enjoy that one as well. See how Coach Hoke is enjoying this spring practice. He's with Lisa Byington. Lisa?
Yeah, well, Coach has been hopping around a little bit from drill to drill. What has stood out to you so far here this afternoon?
Well, you know, we need a lot of work. You know, we've got a lot of youth on our team, which is a good youth, and as many reps as we can get, as many teaching opportunities. That's what we wanted to do, and then we'll do some scrimmaging now, and hopefully all those reps and all that teaching's paying off.
This is kind of what the fans want to see, is the scrimmage part. How do you divide up the reps during this section?
Well, we've got a number, you know, anywhere between 50 and 70. You know, on most Saturdays, we scrimmage for 120, 130 plays. But for us today, you know, we got some good work done with the different drills we did, and now it's time to put the ball down, have the officials out there, and play football.
We had talked about earlier in our telecast about the number of early enrollees that you have here this spring. What has that provided for you guys in terms of a different attitude here?
Well, I think it helps in a lot of ways. Number one, we lost 19 seniors from a year ago, so you got 7 new bodies that are in there. I think how all 7 of them have gotten acclimated to Michigan, and academically, socially, and football-wise. I think the attitude that they brought with them is one of competitiveness in the classroom and out here on the field, and they all have done a nice job.
Let me ask you just real quick about your new offensive coordinator and Doug Nussmeier. The biggest asset, the biggest benefit that he has provided here this spring is what?
Well, I think he's brought a great competitive spirit to him, an attitude, a lot of energy. Obviously, his relationship with developing quarterbacks, I think it's all been very positive.
Okay, thank you. Enjoy the scrimmage part.
Okay, thanks.
Matt?
Lisa, good stuff. Thanks. Brady Hoke's eyes on a 43rd Big Ten title in school history. Haven't won it since 2004, and he'll tell you that it's way too long for that to happen. We invite your feedback on Twitter, as usual. And anyone who's listened to my partner, Marcus Ray, understands he knows this team, he knows this game. This from, I guess it's Eli Cash _Wildcat. Who do you see stepping up opposite Jared Wilson at safety? Jared Wilson wears 22. Who's opposite him, do you think, right now?
Right now, the lead guy would be Jeremy Clark, number 34, out of Kentucky. And he's long, rangy. He's a smart kid. He's fast. So they're trying to get these 2 safeties to make everyone around them better. And I told Jared Wilson and Jeremy Clark personally, I said, Michigan football needs an enforcer, a lockdown corner, and a field general out there if you guys are going to go to the next level. The talent is there, but that guy right now in the lead is going to be Jeremy Clark, number 34. But also, Matt, look for Delonte Hill. He's a guy that's in there, and he's mixed it up and been physical, but they're not really set on it just yet.
Hill, a sophomore from Cass Tech. Clark, a redshirt sophomore, as Marcus mentioned, Madisonville, Kentucky, whose grandfather played football at Oklahoma State. And now we begin the scrimmage with the ball tucked inside the 5-yard line. Devin Gardner on a play-action boot, throws, and picked off at the 28-yard line. Defense wins round 1. Jordan Lewis with the interception.
Jordan Lewis is that guy I talked about earlier. You saw the athleticism. You saw the coverage on one of the best receivers in the conference. He made a great play right there. But with Michigan being able to add a 3rd corner in the lineup versus some of these formations, it gives them more athleticism. And that was a great play for Jordan Lewis. He's going to be a difference maker this year.
8 games a year ago, and as we mentioned, back-to-back state titles at Detroit Cass Tech. They will not keep score in this offset eye behind Gardner. And 2 wide receivers to his right. This time on the ground. Smith out of Trumbull City, or Trumbull County, Ohio, where he set records with over 6,700 yards and 82 career touchdowns. He was a finalist for Mr. Football a few seasons ago. He's a sophomore this year. 5'11", 223, and put together a running back who has speed, and he's got a little bit of a nasty side to him as well. So Funchess is to the left. That's what a lot of people are wondering about in a 4 wide receiver set. They stack to the side, the short side of the field, before bringing Canteen in motion. Settles in for trips on the right. But Gardner had his eyes on Funchess, and off his fingertips, the one-on-one battle with Jordan Lewis. If you're Lewis, it's a great thing because you're going up against Funchess. If you're Funchess, it's a good thing too, right?
Oh, yeah, exactly right. I mean, this works in both kids' favors. I like how Nussmeier really moved guys around in that formation to identify the coverage. When you add a new offensive system, these quarterbacks have to pick up on the terminology and identify the coverage. And when you saw Jake Ryan walk all the way out here as the corner, you know it was man-to-man. He was covering the running back. But Nussmeier is going to create those one-on-one matchups, but these guys have seen each other for 15 practices, and they know the moves.
There's maybe the most important moment of Devin Gardner's afternoon. Learning, teaching on the run from Doug Nussmeier. Expectations, what you have to do better, and what you've done pretty well so far. Let's see how Shane Morris fares on the ground. Derek Green, I like his running style. I don't know who it's like. Do you like a Mark Ingram-esque?
You know, he reminds me of Ron Dane. He's just not as big.
Okay.
He's not as big as Dane, but he has a center of gravity. He falls forward for the most part, but he's just a big guy, and when he gets that straight line, not a lot of wiggle, but if he gets a full steam ahead, it could be trouble.
All right, I like that you used a Big Ten reference. I just chose to stay in the state. Good job.
Ron Dane's my guy, man. Show him a little love.
He was a horse at Wisconsin, wasn't he? Oh. Monte Ball soon followed, and he had a nice year in Denver a year ago.
Oh, yeah.
Morris wants to throw. Pressure from the edge, and he connects just outside the 10-yard line, and muscling his way up close to the 20-yard line is Bo Denver. He's a redshirt sophomore from Lake Forest, Illinois.
Yeah, that's a good job of picking up the blitz right there. When you look from offensive line standpoint, but as you watch Derek Green, you know, he's got to be able to make that contact and stay with the defender.
Well, Taco Charlton is a load, man. 6'6", 275. He is built like the bronze statue we saw moments ago of Bo Schembechler. Taco Charlton can flat out get it done as a sophomore from Pickerington, Ohio. Good friend of Karis LeVert.
Oh, yeah.
He started on the Michigan basketball team this year.
Central Ohio guy.
Yeah, second team all-conference. Morris wants to throw. Pressure collapsed, or the pocket was collapsing a little bit, and he felt the pressure. You saw the feet start to dance a little bit.
Yeah, partner, those feet started dancing because that man-to-man coverage forced him to hold that football. And that's what Greg Madison wants to do, is stay with receivers so he can turn those defensive linemen loose. And if that quarterback holds onto the ball, something bad's going to happen.
It also puts a lot of pressure on your linemen. I mean, the more you hold that football, they have a clock going on in their head, right?
Exactly
how
right.
long they can protect.
And normally it's about 4 seconds.
Spate now in at quarterback. Brady Hoke said, listen, we've got to be able to run the football.
That's right.
And Michigan is going to do whatever they can to try and establish that.
Yeah, whatever they can, partner. They need to have positive plays, running the ball on first down, staying out of long yardage situations. You know, so when you have negative yardage, it comes from bad plays. And so they need to get into 2nd and 8. But as you watch this scrimmage, they're practicing in what's called the black zone. They're backed up. So this is a situational kind of scrimmage. And then notice the ball will probably be moved somewhere towards midfield.
Again, up the middle. Defense expected to be ahead of offense. Doug Nussmeier even admitted that, the offensive coordinator. Look, I mean, defense is ahead of us right now. This is kind of what you anticipated, isn't it? When defense wins usually these battles early on?
Yeah, defense is more reaction, and they have more seniors on defense. So defense normally carries the team in the spring. They develop a lot sooner in the fall and in fall camp. Offense is all about timing. Michigan didn't switch defensive coordinators. They switched offensive coordinators. They made that change. And so it's going to take a little more time to get that system in and for it to become a well-oiled machine.
Spate will throw here in a good pocket. He'll launch down the sideline and go incomplete. With that said, does that mean that there could be some early struggles for this offense when they get ready to start their campaign against Appalachian State August 30th?
The answer would be yes. And I would say probably the first half of that Appalachian State game could be a little shaky for Michigan, depending on how well they practice and pick up on all things during fall camp. But they better figure it out quick because they're going to have to go to South Bend. And they're going to take no prisoners there. That's going to be the last game in this rivalry for some time, or as we know it. But I think that offense will get it together. But Appalachian State, that's going to be the game where they're going to have to figure everything out offensively before they go on the road where they struggle.
Golston is back at quarterback for Notre Dame, and that means the Irish should be a little bit more efficient offensively as well. So Michigan takes it in stages. You called it the black zone inside the 5-yard line. Now they move it out closer toward midfield. It gives them an opportunity to use a different part of the playbook, right?
Yeah, it sure does. Now you're more in a drive type scenario. Before you saw they were backed up, just trying to get some breathing room, trying to take a shot. But now this is as if it's a game simulated situation. And now you might see some different wide open plays, and the playbook may open up here.
Canteen is in the slot to the right. Funchess just inside the numbers. Justice Hayes trying to bounce to the outside and pushed out of bounds. Good flow by the linebackers. Delano Hill up from the safety. Jake Ryan there. Brendan Byer made a good charge off the end, too.
Yeah, that was an excellent stop, and Michigan has worked hard on run support. You know, I watched tape with Greg Madison this week. He showed me the difference in footwork with these linebackers. They don't cross their feet over anymore. They actually slide, they read, and they react, then they scrape. And when something hits sideline to sideline, best believe those two young linebackers, Jake Ryan, Joe Bowden, they're going to fly around and hit some people.
Explain to us what scraping is from a linebacker spot.
Scraping is when you kind of slide and you're moving from one gap to the next gap between the guard and center tackle, center guard tackle kind of gap. And then once the run declares itself, Shep, you take off and go.
A gap to B gap. Here's Gardner feeling the pressure, slinging it out. Strong arm, but behind Funchess. Now, some people in the stands here at Michigan Stadium might be wondering, boy, Devin Gardner's really targeting Devin Funchess an awful lot. And there is some laundry on the field, by the way. But we're seeing him target Funchess a lot. Do you worry that he's locking in on his favorite target too quickly?
Well, that's a great question, partner, because his very first pass was a turnover. And I was wondering how he was going to respond and how he was going to react. And when things start to go wrong, most of the time college quarterbacks go to their favorite target. Yeah. And now he's locked and loaded to at least play well or get his confidence going. But now he has to do it within the framework of the play calling. So if you want something good to happen, you look for 87. But I think he should mix it up and go through his progression.
3 wide receiver set now for Gardner. With Canteen, the freshman, to the short side of the field. Keith Heitzman is the tight end. He's dragging in motion right now. Gardner looked his man off, came back to the near side, and it was dropped by Funchess. Another feather in the cap for the defense, and again it's Jordan Lewis doing a nice job.
You know, as you watch this, look at how Jordan Lewis closed. He probably got there a little bit early, partner, but Devin Funchess has got to catch that. But man-to-man coverage is going to help this Michigan defense with guys like Lewis, Countess, and Ray Taylor making plays. And if you can cover Devin Funchess, you can probably cover anybody in this conference.
I would agree with that. You're right. You're right. And that's how you get better, right?
Every day.
When you cover the good wide receivers in this league on a day-to-day basis or on a week-to-week basis, it helps to go up against one of the best, if not the best, on a day-to-day basis. Blitz comes. Gardner throws. Nice grab at the 45-yard line. Funchess hauled it in. Perfect hands, and then Gardner, to his credit, placed it in a perfect spot.
Yeah, that was a great throw and catch. I'm not sure if this was a live game, if Gardner would have got that off. Jared Wilson did a great job coming off the edge, and there's probably a breakdown in protection. Someone didn't slide, so you see Ben Braden right there looking around. So you have to figure out, as you watch that, would Devin have got that off? But nevertheless, that's a great throw and catch in tight coverage. Any great quarterback has to be able to defeat tight coverage.
Second and short. Doug Nussmeier loves these types of situations. You can open up the playbook here. Play action. Good call. Downfield. Man wide open. It's Canteen. He's got it, and he's inside the 10. Speed kills sometimes, and Freddie Canteen's got a ton of it.
Yeah, Freddie Canteen. He's been doing this all spring. He's a guy that can take the top off of a defense. That the offensive line did a great job of giving him protection. Frank Clark thinks he would have made that sack, but look at that offensive protection. A.J. Williams steps up, makes the great block, bought Gardner just a few more seconds to make that pass. And Freddie Canteen is going to be a difference maker in this offense.
He sure looks like it early on. Speaking of tweets, Jeremy Rominski wants to know, who do you think gets to start in the receiver spots, and does Canteen jump up enough to take a spot during the season? It's right on cue. Well done. Thanks, Jeremy, for the tweet.
Right now, I think J.U. Chesson and Funchess will be your two starting off wide receivers. DeMario Jones maybe get in the mix, but it depends on what package Nussmeier puts on the field, because
Darbo's in that mix too.
Darbo, yeah. And then you have, Northfleet can be in the slot, but that, these positions are wide open, but the starting three will probably be Canteen, Chesson, and Funchess.
Freddie Canteen keeps making plays like that, though, Jeremy. He's got to get on the field, don't you think? And that's an incomplete pass. Let's look at the offensive line a little bit, because Taylor Lewan is gone. Famous number 77. He's going to be a top 10 pick, okay? Or he's going to be a high draft pick. It depends on the team needs and whether or not people want Greg Robinson of Auburn, or you look at a guy like Jake Matthews out of Texas A&M. But right now, Mason Cole is running with the ones. He's 52 in blue. He's a true freshman from Tarpon Springs, Florida. 4-year starter down there, an All-American. He's a big kid at 6'5", 285. How's he handling himself?
He's special. He's made the transition from high school to college well. He's right in the mix. He could possibly start at that left tackle position if Magnuson doesn't come back from his injury. So this offensive line has been very competitive, and as you see, the best players will play. But he has been a shining star this entire spring, and the coaches are high on him right now.
Uses his hands very well.
Very well.
For linemen, too many people look at the size. How about the way they use their hands and their feet? He does both exceptionally well, doesn't he?
Yeah, he sure does, and he keeps a low center of gravity. He understands where he needs to be on the field, and he doesn't try to do too much. But he's a deceptively athletic kid, but he's strong too. And he just moves well, and he latches on guys.
They've got Kyle Bosch, Jack Miller, and Kyle Kalis, and Ben Braden up there with him. It's a third down play for Gardner as he brings Northfleet in motion. Tough cover for a safety, Northfleet. On a quick slant intended for Funchess, and here comes a penalty against Jordan Lewis climbing over the back of the 6'4", 230-pound wide receiver who's going to create a lot of mismatches.
Yeah. Coach Roy Manning, the entire spring, he's been coaching toughness and effort. He wants guys to get up there and compete. Hey, every now and then you may get beat, but he wants them to be physical and play tough and have a short memory. That's all he's been preaching this entire spring, and that's why you see Jordan Lewis all over Devin Funchess right now. Every play, that time they called it, but he's still going to stand in there and compete, and that's why having two defensive back coaches has paid off so far.
Lewis also understands, Marcus, that there's a ton of competition there. Ray Taylor, Terry Richardson, Channing Stribling, Delonte Hollowell, Jabril Peppers when he comes into camp. He wants to fight, scratch, and claw and make sure he keeps that starting assignment if it's his in the first place.
Yeah, and you're exactly right about that. This competition level is very high. But last year against Nebraska, Jordan Lewis was on the field in that 4th and 2 when Nebraska was driving, and he should have been in bump coverage. And he lives with that, and so he's taking that as a personal challenge to get better and be more aware of the scenario in the game, and that's why he's playing and flying around, too, like that.
Northfleet again in motion. And incomplete. And a flag again. And that's got to be concerning for the defensive backfield. If it is indeed pass interference, that looked like maybe a wheel route from Northfleet.
Yeah, that wheel route is a man-to-man beater. Here's the thing about Doug Nussmeier. When the defense dominated him during certain periods of practice this spring, he found something that worked. He was going to dig in that playbook and design something He didn't throw in the towel and say, hey, these guys are young, it's not going to work. He found something, and that's what made Michigan football practices very competitive. And a lot of the defensive players, the Joe Boldens, they're calling out plays, they're anticipating stuff. So, I think this team has a different sense of togetherness, too, holistically from offense and defense, and they have fun competing against one another.
Shane Morris back in. Demario Jones is to his left, and 2 receivers to his right. Smith gets the call. Tough run past the 40 to the 41-yard line.
One of the biggest questions, Matt, as a head coach, from meeting with Brady Hoke, he said, one Saturday we turned the ball over 5 times. Is that great defense or bad offense? The next Saturday we didn't have any turnovers. And was that bad defense or great offense? So that's how, from a coaching perspective, that's how you have to evaluate the spring, each play, each drill. And right here, 3 yards on first down is huge for Michigan's offense.
Deaver comes in motion. Smith, nothing there. It's interesting from a head coaching perspective, and people view him as a defensive backgrounded type of coach, Brady Hoke. You want your defense to force those turnovers. You want your offense to treasure the football. So it's really hard sometimes to figure out, hey, what am I hoping for? What do I want to see here? Because you don't want to see your offense make a mistake. I suppose in a perfect world, it is your defense doing a wonderful job on a read once in a while, and your offense also maybe checking out of certain plays and adjusting on the fly. I'm not sure what a head coach would be thinking in that situation.
Yeah, there was a lot of that this spring, and ball security was one of the major themes. The defense wanted to get the ball back, and the offense felt like they had to protect it. So Greg Madison did a lot of strip drills, 2-on-1 tackling, just situations where you get the ball out.
Big hit by Delonte Hollowell. Demario Jones pops right back up, though. Flag on the play. The whistle was blown.
See Shane Morris right there stepping into the throw. When they give him time, he'll make the throw. And he's a high confidence kid too. He's not afraid. And I think that bowl game is going to pay dividends, especially in the backup role. He's one play away from playing again. So he's right there in the mix. And I don't think he looks at it as he's the backup. He looks at it as 1A and 1B.
Shane Morris in that game against the Wildcats of Kansas State, 24-38, 196 yards. Coming out of De La Salle, the number 2 prospect in the state of Michigan. Added some weight in the offseason. It's good weight, though. Sometimes that can be a good thing. Not for people at our age, but people at his age, yes. He'll throw out of the gun. Pressure comes. He would have been tugged down. Now, there's a few flags being thrown there, but that's a defensive stop right there, folks. That's a good play by Brian Monet, freshman from Salt Lake City, Utah.
You see Morris, he's deceptively athletic, but he's fast. He can move. As you take a look at the Buffalo Wild Wings ball, he made some plays, and they kept the game plan simple.
Yeah, they did.
So that they could get Shane into a rhythm. But as you see, he stands in there. That was a designed play quarterback draw right there. As you see him run for the big game against Kansas State. So he's not just a drop back quarterback. He can be a slash dual threat. He's maybe drop back first, but when things break down, Shane can make plays with his feet, man.
Well, and don't kid yourself. When you have guys like Funchess and like Jake Butt, if and when he comes back, and even A.J. Williams and some of the I mean, there's plenty of weapons to work with for him to keep that confidence growing as he goes under center now. A 5-step drop, and he slings it out for a nice toss and a nice grab just shy of the first down yard marker. Jehu Chesson, the redshirt sophomore you were alluding to moments ago. He has some size and he's got good hands.
Yeah, Jehu Chesson, I think he's going to be that number 2 guy to try to replace Jeremy Gallen. Maybe not production-wise, because Jeremy Gallen had a record-breaking season.
Yeah.
I think Chesson's going to be right there in the mix, along with Freddie Canteen. But Demario Jones is coming on strong, and Devin Funchess obviously is going to be their number 1 guy.
Well, anybody who gives a quarterback 89 rocks and 105.5 yards per game like Jeremy Gallen gave Michigan a year ago, including at least 1 reception in 39 straight games, you'll take it. To the ground they go. Green I think a lot of people are looking at Derek Green, understanding the talent is there. They're just hoping for that breakout moment. When are we going to see the moment where he strings a few runs together, a few games together, that gives us an indication of why he was so highly touted?
You know, I think his production, or that moment we're all waiting for, is going to be contingent on how well this offensive line plays. If they can blow guys off the ball and Derek can just get it, find a crease and get 6, get 7, pop 1 for 14 and start to wear guys down, I think he'll get more confidence. And same thing goes for Davion Smith. But they need, everything is going to start with this offensive line and how well they play in protecting the quarterback and recreating the line of scrimmage in the run game.
Green again. Good shoulder shake to get past the 35. That's really what a good offense does. People view running games, come on, bust it loose for 80 plus. No, good running games give you 6, 7 yards a pop. They wear you down, and that's what Michigan has always been known for.
Yeah, Michigan has always been known for winning the battle of attrition, which is where you wear down your opponent later on. Same thing in boxing, where you win the later rounds, but those body shots add up eventually.
That's right.
And when you can get 6 and 7 yards a pop, you protect your defense, you also protect your quarterback, and then your offense is more productive.
I like the mix that Michigan can bring. Justice Hayes in for Derek Green. It's a different kind of feel. And there's the offensive line we were talking about. Watch the push that they get, the good seal block. And it's really up to a guy like Smith or Hayes to try and beat a guy like Desmond Morgan. In that case, you got to make one man miss as a running back.
Yeah, you're going to have to make some people miss, but if you notice in that clip, Kyle Bosch, he really got a good block down on the nose guard there. He really sealed that edge, created some space for the back to get through there, but you're going to have to make some people miss. Everyone can't be accounted for all the time.
Smith remains in there as the lone tailback. His play action by Moore. When the blitz was coming, Morris would have paid the price there because Desmond Morgan was all over him. And Desmond Morgan, back-to-back plays there, the senior who wears 48 for Michigan. Solid.
That was a delayed blitz right there by Desmond Morgan, and he really had a run-pass read. He pulls up. Obviously, he wants to protect the quarterback. You don't hit your quarterback. Quarterbacks never lie. But Greg Madison said he wants this defense to have more of a blitz mentality. And as you see right there, Desmond Morgan made sure it wasn't a screen. He was probably assigned to that running back. And when he blocked, then he added to the pass rush.
79 tackles a year ago, and one of those guys who Greg Madison told Lisa Byington earlier, really a physical force. They think they're linebackers as Hayes stumbles toward the 20. I think their linebackers are more physical than they've been in the past, and that's important.
They're a lot more physical. They detach from the linemen, and that was part of the reason a guy like James Ross III moved out to the Sam linebackers, because he would get swallowed up by those big guys, those big linemen. You know, he's only 6 foot, 6'1", 225 pounds, so allowing him to play one side of the field in space really worked to their benefit. Then you switch and put Jake in there, he can go sideline to side.
I agree. And James Ross is a really good athlete. The junior from Orchard Lake St. Mary's won a state title there. Was an All-American as well last year. 85 tackles for James Ross. Fire, nice job crashing from the defensive end spot to make the initial hit on Smith and a tackle for loss.
That's a great point right there, partner, because Greg Madison all spring has worked on defensive line stunts. They line up one way and they slant another way. And when you do that, that throws off the blocking scheme sometimes. It disrupts the timing of the offensive line, and they don't know who to block. And that's how Bayer came free. That was a slant right there, or an angle, if you will, and Bayer made that play. That's the kind of plays Greg Madison needs. And when you blitz, most of the time the defensive line goes one way or another.
Ben Gideon helped out on the tackle as well. So now Devin Gardner takes over with the ball just outside the 35. They mark it at the 36. It's been productive. We've seen a little bit of everything so far. Some glimpses of why they have high hopes and some areas to work on. That's really the best of both worlds for these coaches. We're not keeping score here, though. Gardner on a play action. A deep drop. Now he throws. Got a man open and is broken up nicely. That's a really nice over-the-top play by Gerald Wilson, who sniffed it out from his safety spot and got a hand on it to break it up.
Yeah, he's a heads-up guy. That was a very athletic attempt at making that interception. Wilson is smart, and he plays under control. He reads his keys. He watches the tackle give him a pass set, and he makes a play. And I'm not sure he shouldn't have came down with that. Devin Gardner threw it a little bit late. That was an excellent play. Michigan needs more plays like that from their secondary. And he told me on the sideline, I'm going to be that guy this year. I want to be one of the great Michigan safeties to add to the legacy of the defensive backs here.
Then why didn't he take 29? That's the question.
Ross Douglas had it on offense.
Gardner is 2 for 7 for 53 yards and a pick. He goes on the ground there with nothing doing. And I'm not saying this to toot your horn. Safety, you got to be smart. I mean, there's a lot of reading that takes place in safety. It's a tough transition. I would say this. I think corners and safeties are the second most difficult position to transition from college to the pros. And we're only talking about college here, but it can be difficult to transition and absorb everything that's coming your way, all those reads.
Yeah, I agree with you. When I first got here, I played linebacker in high school, and I had a hard time picking up the terminology and understanding coverage. But you do have to read things. You have to play with your eyes, is what we call it on the back end. You play with your eyes, and then your body will follow your eyes. And you have to coach it. You have to rep it. Watching and tackle, give you high shoulders and pass, low shoulders and run.
And Devin Gardner's arm was hit back in the backfield. That play would have been stopped because he would have been eaten for lunch by this defensive line. Brady Hoke getting his team ready for Appalachian State. The season starts a day earlier. Last year, it was August 31st in a 59-9 blowout win over the Chippewas. They would love a similar result on August 30th right here in this building. And then at Notre Dame, September 6th against the Irish. The last time Michigan will play Notre Dame for a long, long time. Then back into the Mid-American Conference against Miami. The Utes of Utah will be here on September 20th. And you saw the two new schools in the Big Ten as well, Rutgers and Maryland. In Rutgers, home to Maryland later on in the season before they close it out against Ohio State. Gardner stumbled a little bit on a pull from center. Nice job by Hayes to get away from a first wave of defenders and then squeeze his way past the 40 to the 41. Frank Clark in on the tackle there. Clark 57 in white in all conference selection. Here's the East Division that Michigan will play in. This man's opinion, the stronger of the two divisions.
Yeah, I agree.
Strictly my opinion, but it'll be interesting to see how
this year at least.
See how James Franklin does at Penn State. It'll be his first year, and then there's the West, Wisconsin, Nebraska. Early indications anyway, the class of the West Division. But a lot needs to be said, be played out. You can't always count on what a team did a year ago. And if that were the case, Michigan would not be happy because they went 3-5 in the Big Ten. And 5-2 here in this building.
Take a look at Justice Hayes right there making that jump cut in the hole. That's the difference between a 2-yard gain and a 7-yard gain. He's playing with a lot of vision. And he told me at the players' reunion yesterday, he said, you let them know I may be the smallest, but I'm the toughest. And I said, hey, whatever works, I want to see you do it on the field. And so far, I like his footwork, but he's playing with a lot of vision right now.
Smith, his vision was clouded by white jerseys. Jake Ryan, the first one to knife in and make the initial hit. Just love the way that kid plays. Jake Ryan, 47 in white.
He plays
from
downhill.
the outside to the inside. Yeah, now downhill means you get past the original line of scrimmage. Is that true?
Yeah, that's exactly right. And as you watch, he starts on the far right, slices through, bam, makes the play. Didn't, he disrupted the play. But on 3rd and 1, those are the types of defenses you expect to see from Greg Madison. Those linebackers, they'll pin their ears back and try to get in that backfield in short yardage.
Just two wide receivers set and offset eye behind Gardner now. Smith stopped and started again, met by Joe Bolden. Bolden 35. You were talking about undersized linebackers. Bolden 6'3", 2 1/4. He could add a few LBs, but he plays smart and with an edge. He's a good-looking linebacker, don't you think?
Yeah, I think he's a good-looking linebacker. Right there, you see he put his face on the running back and wrapped up. Tackling has been key. And a lot of times when Michigan did not tackle in practice, they did what's a thud drill, where you stay up and make contact and drive your feet. But right there, Joe Bolden read the play, made contact. He's going to be an exciting kid to watch. He's become the vocal leader of that group.
2nd down and 9 for Gardner and the first-team offense. Good protection. He wants Canteen, and he's got him, and then he dropped it. Otherwise, that would have been easily enough for a first down, right around the 25-yard line. Had a step for a moment.
And that ball was underthrown. Like to see Gardner throw it down the field, only one guy can make the play.
Blake Countess on the coverage. Here's the returners on the defensive side of the ball. 9 defensive starters from a year ago. Taylor and Countess at the corners, that helps. So 3/4 of the defensive backfield are back. And you've got those linebackers, Ryan, Morgan, and Ross. Is there a better collective group in the Big Ten? Some could argue, but they're in the discussion, that's for sure.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, those guys make plays, and they just need more consistency. And that's one of the things that Brady Holt stressed. And I asked him, I said, are you the team that almost lost to Akron, or are you the team that almost beat Ohio State? He said, Marcus, that's why we play every week.
Right.
And so those are things they're trying to figure out from a program standpoint. And it's going to start with consistency.
Well, look, I mean, there's a lot of schools asking the same thing. A lot of schools during a season would ask that. Michigan State, is it the team that barely beat Western Michigan early in the season, or was it this team that went on to win a Big Ten championship? Ohio State, is it the team that almost lost to Toledo in their own backyard, or is it the team that picked up some important wins down the stretch? There's a lot of different questions that could be asked and still yet to be answered.
Yeah, I agree with you, partner. So that's a conference-wide issue, you know, and you have to show up and play every team as if it's your last game, because you just never know. But this football team being so young, you know, they're going to get leadership from upperclassmen on defense, and then offense, they're going to rely on Devin Gardner to maintain his cool, his poise, and his moxie, and go out there and make some plays.
Brian Cleary getting a few snaps. He's the redshirt sophomore who played at University of Detroit High School. So he took a snap, and now hustling in will be Garrett Moores. He's a redshirt freshman from Detroit Catholic Central. And they almost got that Catholic League covered, don't they?
Yeah,
they got UAD, they got Catholic Central, they got Warren D. LaSalle. 2nd and long. Oh, goodness gracious. You want to make an impact? How about Willie Henry getting it done?
Watch how he gets off the football.
That is very quick, isn't it?
Yeah, one of those young linemen are going to get ripped in this film session, because that's similar to what happened in the bowl game a couple of years ago against South Carolina. But give Henry a lot of credit getting off the ball fast. See Maurice Hurst in there, those guys, you know, they play with a lot of leverage. But with Mark Smith, now, you know, I met with him. He said, I need my front four to get up the field. Every play should look like you're rushing the passer. Right. So when you see a run play and you get guys in the backfield, it makes a world of difference on defense.
That was Glenn Steele-esque, wasn't it?
Oh, Glenn Steele. Oh, if he's listening, buddy, hope everything's well. That's my guy, man.
Well, I rooted for him when he went to the Bengals. I think it was a 6th-round pick. I couldn't recall, but there's a little bit of a bad snap there. Picked up, and Bellamy, an incomplete toss. Well, one of the guys that was counted on and really important to this offense is right there, Jake Butt. We talk about pros at the next level. This is a guy who can play at the next level. And I know he's just a sophomore, but he's got the body, he's got the speed, he has the hands. He's got the torn ACL during winter conditioning, out indefinitely. They think he could be, optimistically now, ready for Big Ten play.
Well, Jake Butt, without, you know, it's unfortunate what happened. But Brady believes that that Jake Butt is going to be, he's already a leader on this team. He's not even on the field. By the way, he attacks his business in the classroom, in meetings. He's still very much a part of this football team, and he's involved. And he's one of the leaders from the sideline.
That's tough to do, too.
Says a lot. Yeah.
That's really hard to do. Bellamy wants to throw. Pressure comes. Nice footwork, but Willie Henry was there yet again, beating his man up front. So we talked about the impact that a guy like Jake Butt could make. Look at what he did a year ago. Just some glimpses.
Look at that athleticism, the hands, focused.
Yak, that's the yards after the catch. What about this one? This one was awesome.
Oh, that's highlight reel right there, material. That's forever. I mean, that was
you
a
just
great
got to work
play.
on that jump and touch with.
Yeah, we got to get a
Devin
celebration
Funchess,
game
right?
together.
Yeah. You don't get knocked down by linebackers. Instead, you get knocked down by your own tight end. This is Ross Douglas trying to improve his spot up that depth chart, but dragged down nicely. The defense swarming pretty well, doing a good job of running to the football. That time it was a tackle made by one of the backup linebackers.
Yeah, the expectation is for the position, so it doesn't matter if you're going with the 1s, the 2s, or the 3s. It's all about execution and evaluation. You know, every guy needs to take every rep with the mindset, and this is it. You can win a job, lose a job on one play. Who knows?
Right.
But if you take every rep seriously, you will improve. And to a man, if everyone improves, this entire team will play better.
Well, here's the other thing. You just never know. I had a friend once, he was 6th on the depth chart. Starter ended up getting hurt. 2nd string guy was moved to defense. 3rd string guy actually quit. 4th string guy then later got hurt. He worked his way up. You never know what can happen during a football season.
And I tell you, when I got here as a freshman, I was the 7th safety on the depth chart, right? The oldest guy in the room was a redshirt sophomore. And I stood up and I introduced myself, and Ty Law said, "Hey, you sit down, fat boy." I said, "Oh, come on." I said, "I'm starting next year." And you know, the rest is history. But I was the 7th on the depth chart. But I didn't know the defense. And none of us, only Chuck Winters was the only guy.
Good player.
That knew the defense.
Yeah.
And then I switched over and played free safety and learned the defense.
Throw across the middle and a nice rolling grab made, and we'll be back here as Michigan looks to continue and try to impress right here on Big Ten Network. It's been a revealing Michigan spring practice here in 2014. Alongside former Michigan national champion Marcus Ray, I'm Matt Shepard. Lisa Byington on the sidelines for us here on the Big Ten Network. We're glad you've decided to spend some of your Saturday with us. Michigan at times has looked good offensively. Marcus, they've looked bad at times. Defensively, you could probably say the same, but it's predominantly the defense who's had the upper hand.
Yeah, the defense from play one. They got an interception. Jordan Lewis had great coverage on Devin Funchess. You know, Gardner turned the ball over. That was one of the areas of concern last year, but he improved as the season went on. But today we've seen the defense give up a big play. We've seen them give up sometimes 2, 3, 4, at least 4 yards on first down versus the run. But we've seen bad snaps, and I think as a head coach, when Brady evaluates this, there's going to be some good, there's going to be some bad, some ugly, but a lot to work with.
There's a big hole. Good job finding it, lowering the boom to get into the other half of the 50 by Davion Smith. He's looked pretty good today, too. The running backs, I would say all of them. Derek Green, Smith, Justin Hayes, they've all, and Ross Douglas, who you like a lot, they've all shown flashes of why they're in this mix.
Yeah, they've shown flashes, and right there, that's one of those runs we talked about that Michigan needs, a 14-yard burst, making a guy miss, and then when you switch it up and give it to Ross Douglas, he almost broke one. He has that type of wiggle and speed and explosion. So Michigan is going to be able to have a running game by committee. That's probably how this thing is going to start off, and whoever emerges as that guy will get more carries.
Morris with an inside give to Smith yet again. He keeps the legs churning. He's not down until he's actually down, and now he finally is pushed to the turf.
I don't know how he stayed on his feet right there. I think I couldn't see if he had his hand on the ground, but his legs must be awfully powerful for him not to go down.
5'11", about 2 1/4. Body fat of maybe 3%. That's an estimated guess.
He works hard too. These kids take their weight room seriously. There's something about being stronger and faster. You know, gives it. You know, when you have a younger team, like I was trying to explain, a young offensive lineman who's 18 or 19, he's just physically not as strong as probably a fourth-year senior at the one technique or at the nose guard. And so physically, it just may not work out. But after a couple of years in the weight room,
fortunately, they have very good strength and conditioning coaches throughout the entire program. Good head coach, too, and Brady Hoke, and he's with Lisa Byington. Lisa.
We checked with you about halfway through. Through the scrimmage part, what has dominated some of your observations?
Well, I think up front defensively, we played pretty well a couple times. we're trying to protect the quarterback a little bit. So I would say, the front's been decent. Had too many penalties, though, defensively. Had some interference or holding penalties. Can't do that. That just continues drives. We've run the ball at times. There's been some holes in there, which is a real positive. But, our consistency, we've got to get a lot better.
Obviously, Devin Gardner wants to forget that first throw that he made during the scrimmage time. But let's talk big picture with him. What are some of the steps that you've seen him take in this new offense this spring?
Well, I think there's a lot. He's got a pretty good command. He's not where he's going to be in the fall yet of the offense. He's done a really good job of trying to learn and really setting an example for everyone else. So I think as he continues to, feel comfortable with it, the command of it, I think he'll be in pretty good shape.
All right. Thank you for the time. We appreciate it.
Well, thanks for coming.
Boy, Bo Deaver, another really solid catch for the redshirt sophomore from Lake Forest, Illinois. He's got a couple of them. Late blitz. A delayed blitz there for Michigan, and Shane Morris forced to kind of eat that one a little bit. Look at the Deaver catch right here.
Did a good job of getting off the line, defeating tight coverage. I mean, Channing's dribbling right there. He was all over Deaver, but he focused on the ball with his eyes, used his hands. That was a great catch.
Yeah, and Deaver, 2 catches, 38 yards. And with that second catch, our United States Marine Corps leader of the game is Bo Deaver. As we mentioned, 2 rocks, 38 yards today, and 2 very good ones, 2 very good catches. He's taking some concentration. 3 wide receiver set here for Morris, with Green getting the call to sneak his way inside the 30-yard line. Here's Bo Deaver's numbers right there, or I should say the fact that he is our Marine Corps leader of the day. We've already given you what he's done and making some catches. Well, some overall thoughts from your perspective. We heard Brady Hoke. What about you?
Well, I'm impressed with certain things, and I watched this team over the last couple of weeks in practice and seeing them get out and compete. I think the offensive line is coming together, but obviously this team is going to be led by the defense early on, and those linebackers. And, they're going to have to play and keep Michigan in ball games right now, or let's say earlier in September when the season begins. They're going to have to keep Michigan in ball games until Doug Nussmeier's entire system has been implemented and everyone's comfortable with it. But I think Michigan has a lot to look forward to if they stay healthy.
Strong throw right there from Shane Morris. Greg Madison's defense, some good and some bad. As you look at Morris with a big connection here, this is what Michigan fans love most about him. That's a rope right there. That's on a line to Jehu Chesson, who made his second catch of the afternoon. And Brady Hoke overall has some teaching moments for his club, but he also has a lot of things that he can be happy about, and that's what a head coach is looking for.
Yeah, you're exactly right. Teachable moments are, that's all coaching is finding those teachable moments and helping a guy improve and coaching him up every snap, every play, every day. But this team loves Brady. They have his support, and they're going to try to go out and win the championship this year.
It was a dress rehearsal today. The real season begins August 30th against Appalachian State. That's going to do it here from Ann Arbor. For my partner, Marcus Ray, Lisa Byington, our entire Big Ten Network crew, I'm Matt Shepard saying so long. And a reminder, coming up, it's the BTN Football Report, Spring Football Edition. Goodbye from Ann Arbor, and thanks for watching.